All right, so you want to make a hot tent out of something that's not a hot tent. Step number one is finding that something that's not a hot tent. And I gotta say, this is the coolest freaking tarp I've ever seen. I purchased this myself. It is not sent to me for review, but it is freaking cool. Let me show you. This freaking tarp has windows. It is a 10 by 10 tarp with windows on both sides. Let me show you the other side. Maybe you can see right through. I am outside the tarp, but you should be able to see me, at least me moving through the windows. They also have zippered storm flaps, so you can cover up the windows if you don't want to see through the windows. Right now I have them rolled up so I can see through the windows. So today I'm going to be making a hot tent tarp with windows. The windows are freaking awesome. I bought that off of Temu. I am not suggesting you go buy it. I don't know how waterproof it is, but it is freaking cool with the windows. It was rather cheap too. I want to say around 40 bucks. Don't quote me on that. Hi, Remy Dog. Remy Dog breaks. So step one, get the thing that you want to make a hot tent. Today, it's a tarp with windows. You're gonna have to go get some Velcro. I got this at Walmart. You can get it on Amazon. Yeet. Some nuts and bolts and some washers. These are pretty cheap over at Walmart, and you get a whole bunch of them. You're gonna need a blowtorch or a heating device. A lighter or your stove will work for this. You're gonna need a poker tool that you can heat up and stick through stuff, and then a screwdriver. You could use the screwdriver that you're using as a poker tool, but if you're not using a screwdriver, then you're gonna need a screwdriver. Before we go into step two, comment down below how many burns am I gonna have in this video. I'll give you a hint, it's more than 0. If you do this and get hurt, it's your own fault. I am not responsible for anything that you do. This is for entertainment purposes only, not educational purposes. This is how I make hot tents and hot tent tarps. I'm not telling you to do this, but this is how I do it. Have fun on your own risk. I'm not responsible for anything. Let's get into the build. You want to lay your stove jack on the material that you're attaching it to and then trace it. This is going to give you your placement for your Velcro. Next, you want to measure out your Velcro and cut it to size. Now, the most important part about the Velcro is to make sure you pick the Velcro that matches your stove jack and sticks to it. This is the fuzzy part because the spiky part is on the stove jack itself. Now, before we get into the next step, you got to run over to huckberry.com. So now we're just going to peel the Velcro and stick it on to whatever you're making a hot tent. I am sticking it to the bottom of this tarp because most likely the top is treated with some kind of silicone waterproofing, and Velcro doesn't tend to stick to that very well. Huckberry.com is your one-stop men's shop for highly curated, high-quality men's fashion, footwear. They also have outdoor gear. Like this whole ensemble is wool. Even these pants are wool. Can't forget my Birkenstocks. These are freaking awesome. So go check out huckberry.com. They're today's sponsor of this video. When you are sticking the Velcro, make sure you sandwich it the best you can with your hands. This allows for a much better stick from the adhesive. One of my favorite pieces of gear from huckberry.com are these wool hoodies. These hoodies and pants are from their own apparel company called Proof. They're so comfortable and soft, I love them. I wear them all the time. This Velcro actually stuck very well to the bottom of this tarp. This next step is where the non-sewing part comes into this. Clean up your mess. This flannel's 100% wool too. Wicked warm, water resistant, pretty darn cool. So this is where the blowtorch and mini screwdriver comes in play. If you don't have a mini screwdriver, which at Walmart, these are like $2 for a set of them, you can use a nail, a screw. Just don't hold the nail or screw with your fingers. Use a pair of pliers. That's what I used to do before I got this little screwdriver. You want to get this red hot. Glowing red is preferred. You want to make the holes a little bigger than the screwdriver so that the bolts have no problem fitting in those holes, but not too big so that they're too loose. Now, since the Velcro stuck pretty well to this, I'm only going to put holes on the corners. Like I said, move it around to make it a little bigger than the screwdriver. You're going to punch holes in all 8 corners. I say 8 because there's 4 pieces of Velcro. If the screwdriver starts to cool down, heat it back up, or your nail or your screw, whatever you're using to make holes. This is where the nuts and bolts come into play. You're gonna need 8 nuts and bolts. Bolts? I ain't good with words. And 16 washers. Now, if your Velcro doesn't stick to your material very well, you can always add more holes with more nuts and bolts. You're gonna take 1 washer in your bolt, and then I'm gonna come from the top through to the bottom. Gonna put another washer on top. You wanna use washers big enough to hold the material tight. The washers are for more surface area so that it doesn't pull through the fabric. You're gonna repeat that 7 more times. I made a mistake. You want the heads of the bolts to be where the Velcro is attaching, because if you had the threaded part sticking up, the stove jack won't stick flat to it. I only finger tighten these, so now I'm gonna go around and tighten them with a screwdriver. Now test fit. Good to go. At this point, you want to remove your stove jack. See how this one unstuck? On other hot tents that I made with this method, over time that adhesive permanently sticks, but if it doesn't, that's what the nuts and bolts are for. This is when you cut a hole in your waterproof material. I like to start with an X. Once you have your X, you can take some scissors and make it a little bigger. I don't like to take too much off of this because the next step will make the hole bigger. Once you got your hole with about 1.5 inches all the way around left of your material, you're gonna take your blowtorch and singe all the way around. This is gonna help the material not rip. I don't know how important this step is, but this is what I do, and you clicked on my video, so I suggest you do it too. Just melt it a little bit all the way around so that the edges have less tendency to rip. I'm just coming as close as I can and just melting a little bit. If it catches on fire, blow it out. Ah, burn count 1. Ah, burn count 1. Ah. I wasn't paying attention. Make sure you pay attention. Ah, this hot tarp on me. Ah, ow, ow. Ooh. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. I got distracted by the bus. Whew. Stupid. And there you have it. Stove jack and a tarp without sewing. And there you have it, guys. You have yourself a hot tent something. Right now, I have a hot tent tarp with freaking windows. So cool. I love the concept. The quality for the guy out spots are freaking awesome. It zippered windows. It has some loose threads places. It came with all of the guy out ropes and 6 stakes. And I think this is freaking awesome. Another thing that's awesome is this chair. I've used it for about a month now. I bought it with my own money. It's only 20 bucks for a swivel chair, guys. It doesn't set up as fast and easy as the other swivel chairs I have. It also doesn't hold as much weight. But if you're on the smaller side and you want a swivel chair for 20 bucks, I totally think this chair is worth the money. I'll leave a link to this in the description down below. I bought it off of Amazon. It's pretty freaking cool. It's lightweight. It folds to a small package, and it swivels. The last thing you need to make a hot tent something is a stove jack. I like to use This one from, I think it's Bear Claw. I bought it on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But that's the most important one. And they have big ones, smaller ones, medium-sized ones, average-sized ones. I went for an average-sized one, but you can go bigger or smaller depending on your needs. If you're doing something like this, a hot tent tarp out of something that's not canvas, I suggest a bigger stove jack. So that's why I used a Bear Paw one. I think it's Bear Paw. Bear Claw? Bear Paw? One of those two things. I'm not sure exactly the name of it, but I'll leave it in the description. If you like this sort of thing, think about hitting that subscribe button. I love hot tenting, and making something into a hot tent is freaking awesome. And now you guys can too. No sewing required. Hot tent tarp. Go have fun.